Next to my bed, I have this picture. It's a picture of Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. I think you love this verse probably as I do. And this particular picture has a story behind it because my father's cancer had come back and he wasn't responding well to chemo, so he had to go to another place to recover a little bit before he could go back home. And so I brought this picture and put it in his room. And I said, Lord, I know you will heal my dad. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, I said to my dad. But a few days later, my dad passed away. And I was left with this thought. What does it mean to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding? What about when things don't work out the way you were expecting them to? A few days before he passed away, my dad recited Psalm 23. It was the last scripture I heard from his lips. He had been a minister all his life, and he only could whisper Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And I was repeating it with him, but I was getting really close to see if I could hear every word from him because his brilliant mind was still brilliant all the way to the very end. When he passed away, I turned to Psalm 23 to find assurance and comfort. What is it about this psalm that we love it so much? It's always requested in every hospital, and when people are afraid and when people are anxious, they say, I want to repeat Psalm 23. Would you repeat it with me? And you know, Psalm 23 had some answers for me, and I'm hoping that it will have some answers for you. Especially when we go through crisis and problems, or we face things that we don't understand, and we cannot lean on our own understanding, and we need to trust in the Lord with all our hearts, even when we don't fully understand what's going on. So I am hoping that Psalm 23 today will give you the same assurance that He has given me. When it was time to do his memorial service, I preached for that memorial service. I did the homily, and I created a little sign that I brought today with me. And the sign said, rest assured, rest assured. What does it take to live in this rest, whether you live or die, trusting in Jesus? How can you have rest in your soul and not feel anxious about things? Well, I'm hoping we will find some answers today. And I found out that when you are aware that God's presence is with you at all times, that understanding actually turns your anxiety into peace and joy and assurance and trust, even in the middle of difficulties, even when you can't understand everything. So come with me to Psalm 23. And you're going to notice that I have two little lambs with me that are going to help us today with as props. I want to tell you a little bit about sheep before we get started, because I found out in the scriptures that sheep are the most commonly used metaphor for God's people. Isn't it interesting? God could have chosen any animal to talk about us, and He chose sheep. So from the beginning to the end of the Bible, the people of God are usually talked about as sheep, either a sheep without a shepherd or as a sheep that left the flock, but sheep. And so I did a little research about sheep, and I found some very interesting things. Now, when we go to Psalm 23, don't forget that David had been a shepherd. So he knew exactly what shepherds do for sheep. He knew that shepherds have to provide everything for the sheep and also heal their wounds, because the sheep sometimes get wounds. And so the shepherd carries an oil with him to minister to their wounds. And this is what I found. Let me tell you. I found that sheep don't have the instinct to find their own food or water. That's why they're absolutely dependent on the shepherd. I also found out that they cannot drink water in places that is running, the water is running like a river. It has to be quiet waters, because otherwise the sheep, the wool of the sheep absorbs the water and they get heavy and they drown. I also found out that sheep are very stressed animals in the sense that if there's a problem, they can't sleep. For example, if there's mosquitoes or if there's tension between the flock, they can't sleep. And so I thought this was very interesting when I was doing this little research because these sheep really look so much like us. And I added this little research in a book I wrote called I Will Give You Rest. And I'm going to read to you this part about sheep to summarize some of these interesting things about sheep. And it says this: over the years, I have collected some information about sheep because they are a commonly used scriptural metaphor to describe the people of God in need of His guidance. In doing so, I have learned that in general, sheep are very helpless animals. They can't instinctively find food or water. They need protection from predators. They can easily drown if they try to drink in deep waters. And they can't sleep if there are problems like tension in the flock or if there are bugs that bother them. Sheep are absolutely and completely dependent on the shepherd to provide everything for them, including a peaceful and quiet place, green pasture, restful waters, and everything else. The sheep don't know where they are or where they are going. They just need to follow their shepherd. They sound just like us, don't they? So when David starts this psalm saying, "The Lord is my shepherd," obviously it is implied that he is his sheep. And this is the shepherd king who knows exactly how shepherds need to guide and provide for their sheep. So he will tell us some very interesting things that I think today, as we seek to trust Jesus even deeper in times of crisis and times that when we don't understand, I think this psalm is going to provide some very interesting insights for us. So I would suggest that you have a Bible with you and perhaps something to take notes, because we're going to analyze some words in the original language, and I think you will want to share some of these insights with other people. So when we get started, as we just talked about, there's no middle ground for sheep. You are either a sheep that has a shepherd, and if you are with a shepherd, you have everything: food, water, rest, healing, comfort, guidance. If you're a sheep without a shepherd, you have nothing. So as Jesus said, with me, you can have all things. Without me, you can do nothing, because there is no middle ground for sheep. You either have a shepherd and you have all things you need, or you have no shepherd and you have nothing. So let's get started. We are sheep with a shepherd, so let's understand what that means. The first thing we're going to talk about is the name that David decided to use for God. He could have used any name: El Shaddai, God Almighty; El Olam, Eternal God. But he chose a name that is very interesting. In most of our Bibles, it says the Lord, but the Lord is in 4 capitalized letters, not just the L, but all 4 letters. The Lord is my shepherd. When you find the name of God, Lord, with all capitalized letters, it means Yahweh. The original says Yahweh, that we used to say Jehovah. And this is the name of God that is the covenantal name of God. This is the name that God revealed to Moses when Moses said in Exodus 3:14, who is sending me? What am I going to say? And God said, I am who I am. That's the name Yahweh, which is incredible because that is the covenantal name that assures us that he was going to take his people to the promised land. Yahweh is the name that opened the Red Sea. Yahweh is the name that brought rain, bread from heaven, or got water out of a rock. That's the name Yahweh. So when we get started with this psalm and it says, Yahweh is my shepherd, we're like, wow, this is the great God of the covenant who got his people out of Egypt and brought them to the promised land. That's who is my shepherd. And that name, Yahweh, will be used throughout the Bible with other words added to it to show the different characteristics of Yahweh. Yahweh Rophe, the Lord our healer. Yahweh Suri, the Lord my rock. Yahweh Sidkenu, the Lord our righteousness. Yahweh Shalom, the Lord is peace. So before we get into this psalm completely, I want to show you a video. We made this video in our ministry, Jesus 101. And it has the names of God for every one of our needs. So let's watch the video now. It's amazing. God for all of our needs, no matter what you're needing, whether it's healing or peace or his righteousness to cover you. Well, he can provide all your needs. And that's how David starts the psalm. He starts by saying, Yahweh, the great I am, is my shepherd. Therefore, I shall not want. That doesn't mean you're going to get everything you ever desired. It means that he knows all your needs and he will provide what you need. So let's see the list of things he provides. He makes me lie down in green pastures. It's beautiful because don't forget that the shepherd had to guide the sheep to the place where they could eat and rest. Otherwise, they couldn't find out about that on their own because they don't have that ability. So he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside waters of rest or quiet waters. This word is very important for me because waters of rest uses a word in the Greek Old Testament. Most of you know that the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, but it was translated to Greek about 200 years before Jesus was born. And the New Testament writers use the Greek version, in many of the quotations that they do from the Old Testament. And so I like to look at the Greek words because sometimes those words are used in the New Testament. And here this word, waters of rest, anapausis is rest, is the same exact word that Jesus used in the very known verses in Matthew 11, 28 to 30, where he said, come to me and I will give you rest. Same word in the Greek as the one used here in the Greek Old Testament. And David says, this shepherd of mine, he takes me to green pastures and he leads me to waters of rest, real rest. But not only does he provide for my basic needs, he says, let me tell you what else he does. And then he goes on to say, he restores my soul. Don't forget that the shepherd, one of the things that the shepherd did was to restore the sheep and to put oil in their wounds. And this shepherd, this great I am, who is our shepherd, well, he does that too. He not only provides for our basic needs, but he also comforts our soul and he restores it. And so you have everything with this shepherd. But check this out. A little more he does than just provide things that you need. Well, he provides, he takes me to green pastures, he leads me beside waters of rest, he restores my soul, and then he guides me. And I love this part because look what it says. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So I love this part because, first of all, I can't find my own path and I don't have my own righteousness. So he has to guide me in paths of righteousness, and it's his righteousness and it's his path. And it's his name that is on the line, not mine, because I'm his sheep. So whose name is on the line? It is the shepherd. So when you are coming to a place where you're saying, well, what am I going to do with this? Whether it's a crisis or whether you're trying to reach someone with the gospel and they're not, getting it. Or when you're saying, what am I going to do with this difficulty or this obstacle or these resources I need? Well, remember this part of the psalm. The great I am, the one who opened the Red Sea, who rained bread down from heaven, who got water out of a rock. He's your shepherd. And he takes you to where you need to go. He provides what you need, the basic needs in your life, the basic needs in your ministry, but he also restores your soul, comforts you, and he guides you in paths of righteousness because his name is on the line. Well, so far in this psalm, we get all these great things that the great I am does for us. And it is a report about God in the third person singular. So the first 3 verses of the psalm, David is saying, let me tell you about my shepherd. He's the great I am, and he does this, and he does that, and he takes me there, and he provides this, and he, third person. But then there's a pivot in the middle of the psalm. It's an amazing pivot when he starts saying, but when I go through a crisis, when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he says, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. This is the pivot from third person singular, talking about God, doing a report about God and how great my shepherd is. In the moment he envisions himself in the crisis, he switches from third person singular to second person singular, from report to prayer. When I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That's what a crisis does. It makes God super personal because you have nothing else left. You don't know where else to go. And I will fear no evil because you are with me. That's it. Here's the antidote to fear in any crisis. It's not our strength. It's not our wisdom. It's not that we understand everything. It's not that we have such persistence. It's that God is with us. That's it. That's the antidote to fear. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That's the antidote. And so from now on, he continues talking in the second person. He continues talking to God instead of about God. This crisis has switched from the third person to the second person. When my father was repeating the Psalm 23 in his deathbed, I saw no fear in his eyes. I had the privilege of anointing both of my parents when they were dying, both of them with cancer. Very short time in between both of them and their death. And I saw no fear in their eyes. What a blessed state to be able to face life or death, or obstacles, or crisis, or resources, or lack of resources, saying, okay, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And I saw that in their eyes. And I want that so much for myself. No fear. The antidote, God's presence. Awareness that you are with me. And then he starts thinking of abundance. Once he says, oh, wow, the great I am is with me. So he starts getting these visualizations of abundance, and we don't have time to go through all of them, but he says, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and you have anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. And now I have to tell you about the cup. This is one of my favorite parts in the whole psalm. For a long time, we interpreted this verse in many different ways. But some scholars lately have found out that there was something about the cup that I need to tell you. So I brought a cup. I like my cup. This is from Jerusalem. And the cup was a symbol. When a sovereign lord invited somebody to dine with him and brought them to the king's table or to the lord's table, the servants had to keep the cup full at all times. That meant that the guest was welcome to stay. But whenever the cup started getting empty, it was a signal that that person should go home now. So if you were in the table and your cup started going a little empty, you would go, uh-oh, it's time to go home. And David says, my cup is not just full. It's not empty, but it's not just full. It's overflowing. It's interesting because some people found out that when a lord really liked a guest, they would do this. They would pour until it overflowed on the table. And it meant, I really like you. Please stay. You're welcome in my presence. And David says, my cup is not empty. It's not just full. Woo, it's overflowing. It's overflowing all over because he's lavishing his grace on me. And he's saying, you are so welcome in my presence. You never have to leave. Oh, I absolutely love this because if you know that the great I am is your shepherd, that he's able to provide because he has limitless resources. And on top of that, you are so welcome in his presence that you never have to leave. What else would you need? And so he sees this abundance, and then he says, now I'm sure of something. It's interesting because first he uses a name that is a big name in the history of redemption. So sometimes when you're fearful, look back at the things that the great Yahweh has done, the great I am, and you will be comforted. Go over the stories of redemption and the opening of the Red Sea and all the things that God did so that you know who is your shepherd. And then when you are afraid, practice the presence of God. Place things on your walls and in your mirrors that say, God is with me. He will never leave me. He will never forsake me. So past, present, and then he goes to the future. How important it is in times of crisis to go through the promises of God. We know how the story ends. We know where this whole thing ends. We know that Jesus wins and we are with him and we will be with him. And so David says, surely I know something. Goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. I love this verse. Goodness and mercy, that word mercy or loving kindness is the word hesed in the Hebrew. It's hard for us to translate it. Is that active grace of God according to the covenant where he pursues us. Surely, David says, I have two companions next to me at all times, my whole life, all the days of my life. Goodness and mercy, loving kindness, grace will follow me. It's like you have these two companions on two horses behind you. And it says, will follow me. And actually the Hebrew is stronger than follow me. Will chase after me. They will come after me. That's what it means. Surely these two companions, I went to a dark alley. I took a bad detour. Here come goodness and mercy, looking for me, chasing after me, going after me. Because God always initiates. Surely, says David, I have these two companions that will never leave me. And you know how important this is? If your child or your grandchild has taken that dark detour, you can be assured that God is at this very moment sending mercy and goodness to go after them, chasing after them. Surely, says David, they will come and chase me down. And I will dwell, future, in the house of Yahweh. He uses the name again. He used it at the very beginning. He uses it at the very end. The great I am, the great he is, the one who always is. I will dwell in the house of the great I am forever. So imagine this. You say, okay, I'm not a sheep without a shepherd. I am a sheep with a shepherd. And you know who is my shepherd? The great I am is my shepherd. The one who opened the Red Sea, who rained bread down from heaven, who got water out of a rock, who got his people safely to the promised land, who sustained them in the desert. He's my shepherd. And he does all these things. He takes me to places that I need to go. He provides my basic needs. He gives me rest, waters of anapausis, of rest, like Jesus promised. And he actually restores my soul, and he also guides me because it's his name on the line. But let me tell you what, when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, when I don't understand what's going on, when I'm in a crisis, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That's the moment that the report turns into a prayer, and you are with me. That's the antidote to fear. You know what? My cup overflows in your presence because I am so welcome there. And I have this assurance that goodness and mercy will chase after me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house of Yahweh, the great I am, forever. Whew. Do you feel your anxiety coming down? Trust Jesus. The blessed assurance of knowing you have a shepherd. Well, this is the context for when we get to the Gospel of John. This is the context. And many other prophecies about one who would come as the shepherd of the people. And so it's wonderful to study it, and I wish we had a lot more time to go over the prophecies that there was a shepherd coming who would take care of the people the way they were supposed to be taken care of. And when we get to the Gospel of John, Jesus is using this word, I am, this phrase, I am, that God had used in the Greek Old Testament when he revealed himself to Moses and he said, Ego eimi, I am who I am. And now Jesus in John is constantly saying those same two words in the Greek, I am, I am. And he's saying, I am the bread that came down from heaven, and I am the vine, I am the resurrection and the life, and I am the light of the world. I am. No wonder people were saying he's blaspheming. That's the name of God. And Jesus would say, I am. I am. And it's no exception for this metaphor. I am the shepherd, the one that you were waiting for. So it's important to know the context because Jesus will appropriate that and say, you're a sheep with a shepherd? I am. I am the shepherd. As a matter of fact, I am the good shepherd. So let's go there. John chapter 10 and verse 11 is where Jesus will use the same two words, I am, of the great I am, back in Exodus 3 and 6. The same two words in the Greek. I am, and the Greek New Testament here says, I am the shepherd, the good one. It uses the definite article twice. I am the shepherd, the good one. I am the shepherd, the good one. And how do you know that he's the good one? How do you know that he's the good shepherd? Well, we have a cross here at the studio, and I want you to look at it. Because Jesus said that the cross is the only way you will know that he's the good shepherd. That's the only sign. He says, there's a lot of things in your life that you won't understand, but you will understand that I'm the shepherd, the good one, because the shepherd, the good one, verse 11, lays down his life for the sheep. There will be a lot of things that you won't understand in your life. A lot of things in the middle of crisis, or why you lost a loved one, or why this happened to you, or why this obstacle is in your life, or this sickness, or whatever it may be. But Jesus says, I am the shepherd, the good one. The way you will know that I'm the shepherd, the good one, is because I laid down my life for the sheep. That's why we always have a cross in the studio. It's the only sign that gives us the assurance of why we need to trust Jesus. And it's because he laid down his life. So like the song says, when you don't understand God's hand, trust his heart. When you don't understand his hand in your life, what he's allowing, what he's doing, trust his heart, which he already showed at the cross. And so he continues with this line of thought. Verse 14, I am the shepherd, the good one, again, and I know my own, and my own know me, even as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Again, this is your sign. This is how you're going to know that he's the good one. Not because you will understand everything he allows or does, it's because he showed his heart at the cross. He's the good one because he laid down his life. And this is a beautiful chapter that maybe you can read afterwards, John chapter 10, all of the Good Shepherd section. And he continually says, I laid down my life. I laid down my life. And I want to read two more verses to you here. And it says, verse 27, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give eternal life to them, and they will never perish. And check this out. This is the blessed assurance of salvation. No one will snatch them out of my hand. Oh, I absolutely love that sentence. Nobody will be able to snatch my sheep from my hand. Look at it. Verse 28. No one will snatch them out of my hand. You're so sure. You're so secure in his hands. You know, Paul talks about this in many places later on in the New Testament. He says, you know, nothing will be able to separate us from the love of God. Nothing. Nothing. Not angels, nothing. And here Jesus says, if you're my sheep and you're in my hands, nobody will be able to snatch you out of my hands. And this is not the last place where we find Jesus as a shepherd. When we get to the final book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, the book of Revelation is designed specifically for us not to be afraid of the end of the times, of what's coming. It's a revelation of Jesus Christ. So there are many different portraits of Jesus in this book of Revelation. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning, the end, the first and the last. Eschatos, where we get the word eschatology, comes from last. And Jesus says, don't talk about the end of times without talking about me. If you're going to talk about eschatology, the end of times, talk about me, who I am saying I'm the first and the eschatos. I'm the last. So you have nothing to fear because I'm always with you. So we have portrait after portrait in the book of Revelation about who Jesus is. And we have this portrait of Jesus as well. So let's go there to Revelation chapter 7. It's a beautiful chapter that gives us this portrait of Jesus that you're going to love. Chapter 7, I'm going to start on verse 13. Then one of the elders answered, saying to me, these who are clothed in white robes, who are they? Where have they come from? We're all there. All the sheep are there dressed in white. How come we're dressed in white? Verse 14. I said to him, my Lord, you know. And he said to me, these are the ones who came out of great tribulation, and they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So Jesus is the Lamb throughout the book of Revelation, but there's a surprise here. So we have washed our robes in the blood of the Lamb. For this reason, verse 15, they are before the throne of God, and they serve him day and night in his temple, and he who sits on the throne will spread his tabernacle over them. Check this out, verses 16 and 17. For the Lamb in the center of the throne will be their shepherd. I love that. The Lamb in the center of the throne will be their shepherd. What a transformation. The Lamb becomes the shepherd, and he will guide them to springs of the water of life, and God will wipe every tear from their eyes. Oh yes, we have an eternal shepherd. He's the great I am. And he will take us safely to the promised land. And he will guide us and even wipe away every tear from our eyes. And so I would like you to internalize this, incarnate this truth. And so I'm going to ask you to read with me Psalm 23, verses 1 to 3, but putting your name in it. So I'm going to put a slide on the screen, and every time you see a blank, you actually say your name. So we're going to say this out loud. I know that your mics are muted, and I know that you are by yourself, perhaps, or with your family. Say these verses out loud and put your name in the blank. Okay? Ready? Let's go. The Lord is Elizabeth's shepherd. Let's do it again. The Lord is Elizabeth's shepherd, and Elizabeth shall lack nothing. He makes Elizabeth lie down in green pastures. He leads Elizabeth beside waters of rest. He restores Elizabeth's soul. He guides Elizabeth in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Let's do it again. Make sure that you're saying it loud and you're putting your name in the blank. The Lord is Elizabeth's shepherd, and Elizabeth shall lack nothing. He makes Elizabeth lie down in green pastures. He leads Elizabeth beside waters of rest. He restores Elizabeth's soul. He guides Elizabeth in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Continue reading with me, please. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him. And by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Those are the beautiful verses from Isaiah 53. So, now that you know who is your shepherd, now that you know that you have the great I am as your shepherd, who is the good one, not just a shepherd, but the good shepherd, then you can rest assured. You know, when my dad's memorial took place and I made this sign that I told you, I placed it on the cross that was at the church. And this cross had this sign as the sign of why we can rest assured. The only reason why we can rest assured in life or death is because we have the good shepherd, the good one who has laid down his life for us. So when we are not understanding what he's allowing or what he's doing, well, we will still rest assured. The blessed assurance of trusting in Jesus because he already proved his point that his heart was so great towards us that he refused to go through eternity without us and he preferred to die. So rest assured, your shepherd is the good one. So now maybe you can say this with me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. And acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will direct your path. So turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face. And the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. God bless you.
The Lord is my shepherd.
The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep.
I shall not want.
Ask, and it will be given to you.
He makes me lie down in green pastures.
I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger.
He leads me beside quiet waters.
He who believes in me will never thirst.
He restores my soul.
I came that you may have life and have it abundantly.
He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake.
I am the way and the truth and the life.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me.
And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age.
Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you.
You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies.
I say to you that many will come from east and west and recline at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven.
You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows.
He who believes in me as the scripture said, from his innermost being will flow rivers of living water.
Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
I go to prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also.